Welcome to the 20verse podcast. I'm the host, Valeria. Join me while I storytell about my life to hopefully help you through yours. Through my journey, I talk about healing, growing, and mindset. Thank you so much for listening. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the 20verse. My honest truth is in this episode. I'm going to be talking about honesty, integrity, and that's because I've been transitioning into new communities recently, and I just see trends and I see things that don't align with me, and I don't want to stay quiet about it. So this is basically my vent session about honesty and integrity. Something that I've always been complimented on, either by past employers or by friends or by family members, is my integrity. I will do what I say. I will do what I say. And I get that from my mom. She does what she says, and she, like, even if she didn't want to follow through with like something she told me she would do, she would do it, because that's how people start to recognize you and build trust in you. And I try to show up as much as I can in my whole life. Obviously, I'm not perfect at it, but I think that it's a trait that I have that I'm very glad to have. But in having this trait, just like you probably have many traits that you see in other people, but you also recognize, why isn't everyone doing this? It comes so easy to me. Recently, I was in a clubhouse room and I was asked a question, and I've been practicing this thing where I'm not conforming myself to the people I'm around anymore. I used to be so quick to be able to adapt to the environments massively and somehow just like turn it off and turn it on, like my true self. I'd hide things if I knew I was going to be judged. I wouldn't say what was on my mind because I didn't want to make other people uncomfortable. I didn't want to take up too much space by just like being me. And with that conversation I had in Clubhouse, I really challenged myself, like, today they're going to ask you questions, and other people in the room are going to have different opinions than you as well. So your job is to show up as your true self, be honest, be with integrity, and whatever anyone says, you've said it from truth. So nobody can argue with your truth as long as you're respectful with it. So we were speaking, I was asked a question on how I felt about a subject related to business, because I am currently helping out business right now. And I said my honest truth, and a lot of people that went after me didn't necessarily see things the way that I saw them. And that is amazingly okay, and that's not what I'm trying to get across. It's the fact that I'm kind of congratulating myself a bit because I showed up and said my thoughts, even if I knew for certain everyone else was going to have a different opinion than me. And it was done in a very respectful way, I think, and it was done in a very professional way of, this is my experience and I'm showing up 100%. Life teaches you things, right? And I always say that, but sometimes it's hard to think about exactly how that manifests into life. So I want to give you an example. There is this girl, I don't know why I keep on smacking my lips, I'm sorry. There is this woman that I recently started to have conversations with. We are associates of some kind, and she's in this new community that I had found. And if I'm being honest, I, in some ways, subconsciously started speaking in my mind about her when she would speak, because she is loud. She is very, no sugarcoating, very straightforward, like literally like one of the most straightforward people I've ever met in this world. And sometimes it can come off really aggressive. And I think the first few weeks that I was getting to know her or hearing her, I was just really like, oh no, it's her again. What's gonna happen this time? Or what is she going to say? And I realized that it was just life teaching me a lesson. She is showing up 100% of the time, literally 100% of the time. I would always hear her speak, volunteer, anything of that sort, even if she knows that she is not everybody's cup of tea. And she would say that. She would say that. She's like, you can hate me, but eventually you love me, or you'll hate me or you love me. But she stands in that truth so hard. She stands in that truth so hard that sometimes it can make you uncomfortable if you're not really realizing it. And then I realized, actually, this is life teaching me that if she can, why can't I? What's possible for one is possible for all. That's the law of oneness. We're all interconnected, we're all one. So what's possible for one is possible for all. And she reminded me that I don't need to sugarcoat shit. I don't need to try to be like everybody else that I am entering this new community with. I am not supposed to be like everybody else. Or else, what value would I bring? How do people stand out if they're just trying to blend in? And I know that can seem so intuitive, but to hear it out loud sometimes changes things. How are you right now? Betraying your light, making yourself smaller, and not being honest with yourself, and not showing your true self, and not showing truly up for you. And I'm not talking out of my ass here. I've been experiencing this. I'm really going through it, y'all. I'm really going through it. This new energetic expansion that I'm experiencing isn't some dilly-dally rainbows that is like the easiest thing in the world. It's actually not. It's actually very uncomfortable. And a lot of the time I feel very uncomfortable, and I need to remind myself, and I need to practice all these self-soothing skills and mindset skills and all these in order to just be where I'm at today, right? Like I'm not where I was 2 weeks ago. I was in a way different place because I was just starting out this new journey and I was just figuring everything out. And I'm not saying that I have it all figured out now, but I'm starting to realize that as I'm trying to blend in, people are quote unquote getting ahead of me. And I'm like, what the hell? I could have done that. I know how to do that. I don't think that they see the value in me. But how could somebody see the value if you're hiding in a bush? Of saying that I tried to blend in so much these past 3-4 weeks because a lot of the time we learn it as a survival mechanism when we're younger. We don't want to be seen as the weird kid. We don't want to be seen as the odd person out. Why are they doing too much? Oh, they're going to start talking about me if I start doing too much. So I'm not going to do too much. What is too much? Okay, let me just like mimic everybody else's things. And it is really a survival mechanism. But I'm challenging myself lately to show up more as myself more often. And I want to challenge you to do the same as well. And that doesn't mean that you don't cater the language or change the emphasis depending on what situation you're in. I'm not saying that, right? Because the people that are in my community probably know what the word alignment means. Boundaries, toxic relationships, all these like higher self terms. You understand that resonates with you, and it might seem like, of course, Val, everyone knows that. Well, it's not true, actually. If we were to be talking to an older generation, let's say, or someone that's not in this community, they wouldn't necessarily resonate with those words. They wouldn't necessarily understand what you mean by those words. So I'm saying that you need to change your language by who you speak in order to have a more clear communication. I'm also saying that standing in your truth can be done at the same time. Okay. So it's a two-way street. And in Sometimes you just need to find a balance of it, but also know that if your honesty and your true self triggers people, let it. Let them be triggered. It's not your job to cater for somebody else's insecurities. And that applies to me. When I was kind of hesitant, I wasn't 16-year-old me hesitant, but I was more so like, ooh, okay, she's interesting. The lady I was talking about earlier. It took me a while, but did she stop because the possibility of me not understanding her was something that would hurt her? No, she didn't stop. She just kept on showing up as herself, and then I adjusted around it. I adjusted. It was me that shifted. It was me that started realizing, actually, that's just on me. That's just my insecurities of other people thinking that I'm weird, or other people thinking that just the social approval aspect of it. So I'm so grateful that she hasn't changed. I'm so grateful in the weirdest way, because she taught me one of the most valuable lessons that she doesn't even know she taught me. And she does some of the biggest impacts are the ones that you don't even know you did, right? I'm here talking to you, and you've probably talked to somebody today, yesterday, in the past month, that you won't realize how impactful your words were to them, how impactful you showed up, and how that stayed with them. And they'll probably never tell you or get a chance to tell you, because it's stuck in their mind, but it's not something that a lot of people message out to say or anything like that. And that's okay. But it's just a testament to, if you show up the way you want to show up, and if you're showing up embodied, an embodied being, let me clarify what that means. You are a whole person. You have so many things going on with yourself. You have your body, you have your brain, you have your soul, you have your personality, you have the way that you show up in the world. That's all into you. Nothing's different, right? Everything makes up you. The mean parts of you, the happy parts of you, the joyful, the hurt parts, they're all you. They all come to create you. And showing up as your higher self, or as who you hope to be, or as you feel is true to you, makes more than impact than we know. I ran a business last summer, and let me tell you, I did not have it all together. I mean, and I wouldn't expect her to have it all together. Her as in me, last summer. And I have compassion for her, because she was learning to do all these things. She moved away for the first time. She ran her own team for the first time. She ran payroll for the first time. She did so many things for the first time. And it was hard to feel like you can make an influence while you're trying to heal yourself. I was in a massive expansion last summer, which I was just constantly, I was like homesick. I was running a business that I worked 18-hour days. I was exhausted. I don't think I've ever been that exhausted in my life for a continuous period of time. I was just literally between meetings, I was getting a few tears out and then getting back to it, because I knew that that was my goal, right? And I'm not saying that I recommend this, okay? We can talk about business at another time, because I am learning a lot and I find it really interesting. But a misconception that I had was, because I was upset, because I was sad, because I was healing, because I wasn't doing everything perfect, how could I impact anybody? Right? And maybe that might be something that comes up for you. But I received a automated text message this morning from Manifestation Babe, just reminding that you can heal and receive at the same time. You can heal and receive at the same time, meaning even if there's so many things that is just stressful for you, that is just right now you just feel like you're not in a good place, you can receive love, you can receive abundance, you can receive these joys, and people receive at the same time. People are impacted by who you are. And who you are is how people are going to show up, right? Because a lot of the time, I used to never share everything that I'm sharing with you now, right? And maybe it wasn't the right time then, and I don't think it was. But I realize now how my honesty, my truth, my divinity, and my just like showing up in full expression, how that's actually benefited more people than I ever thought it would. Ever. There's people that are texting me, messaging me that I haven't spoken to in like 5, 6 years. There's also new people joining my community that are messaging me, thanking me. And I never did this for that, right? I did it just because I wanted to share a story, but I didn't really know how, and I felt a nudge too. But I didn't really know what it would come for it. But I knew that I needed to continuously check myself. And if I was pretending to be someone I was not, then I would need to readjust. Because that's also the thing with, how do I know if I'm being my true self? How do I know if I'm being honest? How do I know this is that? Well, first of all, a lot of the time you're just in flow. Flow is a feminine energy, and it's not connected to whether you're born male or female. We both sexes have access to both masculine and feminine energies. And flow, being in a state of flow, being in a state of, whoa, this feels so easy, so at peace, so like I could do this forever, that's a feminine energy. And if you didn't understand any of that, that's not the point, so it's okay. And the point is that honesty for yourself, you'll know when it feels like you're betraying yourself. You'll know if it feels like you're putting yourself into a box. You'll know if it feels like somebody else is trying to put you in a box and you're letting it happen, right? Because there's some responsibility that needs to be taken there when you're ready. You'll know when you don't feel like you can express yourself fully, when you feel judged, and a lot of this can come from you, right? Are you judging yourself? Are you not letting yourself show up the way that you want to show up? Are you not letting yourself show up as the truest, highest version of yourself? Really think about that, because I know I have, and I'm currently working on it. And I have to consistently remind myself still. And obviously, I'm still continuously learning along with you. We're in this together. I've been saying it from the start. But I've noticed that every time I try to fit myself into somebody else's version of who I am, I feel terrible. I feel unaligned. I feel uninspired. I feel unmotivated. Because I'm not showing up as the person I want to show up as. So what the fuck is the point? And this is playing around with it, right? We talked about play. Play is so important when you're trying to discover what feels right to me and what doesn't feel right. If the flow analogy didn't work with you, what feels right and what doesn't feel right. And exploring what feels right for me right now. Does doing this hobby interest me? No, but does this one? Yes. Do I want to share it with people? Yeah. Do I want, just go down that, like that rabbit hole kind of. Just follow the string. Follow the string. You won't get lost because you are divinely guided. And if you wanted to, and I don't suggest that you will, or you do, you always have the option to go back, right? Just realize that for a second. You always have the option to revert to who you used to be. But that too won't fulfill you, because the only way is through. The only way to get to your destination is to go like down the path. You can't go back and expect to receive the abundance, the money, the life, the love, the joy that your future version of yourself has. It just doesn't work that way. So you're going to go back and forth. You're going to go back and forth, kind of like a roller coaster. And until you find a balance, and then life will throw you a new challenge and then you'll readjust. But No, I hope that doesn't cause anxiety in you, but I hope it makes you realize that as long as you keep on showing up in integrity and in truth and do what you say you're going to do and show up when you say you're going to show up. And if you mess up, own up to the mess ups and say, listen, I felt this way and this is why I did it. You will be so much more respectable for yourself. You'll trust yourself more. You'll show up for yourself more because you know that you're that bitch. In any sense of the word. I'm not categorizing the word bitch in a gender. I'm just saying you showing up for yourself creates that self-love pattern, creates those exterior relationships as well because you glow differently, you show differently, you are different. And that, my friends, is how honesty and showing up in your truth can transform your life. I hope that you loved today's episode. I would appreciate so much your reviews, your continued reviews. And I know some of you are shy. I hear you. I see you. Don't click off right now. Listen. You can use a different name. Just write it because I know you're coming back. I know you're coming back and I know that you love this podcast and I know that you want to be in this environment. Don't be shy. I'm so grateful and sending light and love your way. I will see you over on my Instagram at the 20verse for more inspirational, motivational, more than once a week. Do it when it feels aligned to me. And excitingly enough, if you are a small business owner, medium business owner, or any business owner in general, I work with a digital marketing company where we help you with all things digital marketing and social selling. So if you would also like to have a consultation with me, see how me and the agency can help you, I would absolutely love to do that. And you can also head over to the 20verse and just hit the email button or DM me. There's also a new highlight called Work With Me that we could figure that out together. I'm so grateful for your time today. It was a little bit of a shorter podcast, and I will talk to you next week. Bye. If you loved what you heard today, go ahead and follow and subscribe the 20verse podcast. You can also follow me over at the 20verse where I give you motivational posts, tips, and tricks and keep you updated on this podcast every single week. Send it to your friends that are also in the 20verse. I'd love to hear their thoughts and I'd love for them to join the family. Thank you so much for listening today, and I'll talk to you next week.